Finally, it's webinar o'clock, and I'm so excited to welcome you all to our report launch. Today, my brilliant colleagues Thomas Rosqvist and Niklas Johansson, together with our highly valued customers Linda Örtlund from SKF and Jukka Moilanen from OP Financial Group, will share their insights and thoughts around AI and the adoption of it into their businesses. My name is Satu Goldbeck, and I will host this interesting and important talk today. Despite all the buzz around AI, only 7% of the responding companies in Sweden and Finland tell us that they use AI widely across their organizations. But even more striking, 27% claim that they see little or no use of AI in their business. Thomas, we really need to talk about these figures.
We sure will.
Great. But before I hand over to you, I will highlight that your questions are welcome. And you know the drill, hit the Q&A button and type in your question and send them to us. I will collect them all in the end. And yes, the recording will be sent to you if you don't want to take any notes today. So, Thomas, I need to read this now so I get it correctly. In your role as the Global Director of AI-enabled Future at Tietoevry Recreate, you meet lots of customers in various industries. Did the results surprise you, or were they weighted?
I think they're quite aligned with what we see from the field. So, clearly most of organizations have the same struggles or the same challenges around AI. And many factors play into it. But then you also see that many organizations have been part of this journey for a long time. So they have been working with predictive analytics and other parts of AI. But then for most organizations, they have jumped on this AI journey, during the past few years through the introduction of large language models and the sort of democratization of AI. But I would also say that there are some common factors, maybe not surprising, but that is around trust. So both trust around partners working with customers on the topic of AI, but also trust in the AI systems and the technology itself.
Okay, let's not wait any longer. I know you're very curious about the results. Let's get down to business. The stage is yours, Thomas.
Thank you. So a little bit about the research background. So the idea for this review emerged directly from conversations with our customers. AI has been a recurring theme in our work and dialogues for a long time, and it has become clear that while many organizations are looking for perspectives, not just on the technology, but on how others are approaching it. At Tietoevry Recreate, we wanted to better understand where Nordic organizations currently stand when it comes to AI adoption. What's happening in practice, what's holding things back. The developments of AI has been so rapid that keeping up with changes has been challenging. So while AI has been gradually adopted into use, considerable hype has formed around it, so leading to a blurred perceptions of its short and also long-term impacts. So what are the real effects? How do we measure them? And where are we now? And how should we navigate this evolving landscape? So we felt that now was the right time to pause and reflect a bit on the situation together from the point of AI realism. So throughout this review, our goal is to form a realistic perspective of both the current state and future outlook of AI and provide actionable insights into its implementations and impacts. The research was done in two ways. The qualitative part, so we conducted a qualitative study in which we had in-depth reviews with IT decision makers both in Finland and in Sweden, with a total of 10 interviews. Then we had the quantitative part. So we conducted a quantitative survey targeted to a more varied group of professionals working in medium, large-sized organizations with a sample size of around 415 participants. So, the findings. So, AI in organizations is in a field of certain uncertainty. So we have divided the findings into 5 different parts. First one, AI in use but not yet in scale. So what we see is that most organizations have started their AI journey, but only a few have scaled across the organization. The main barriers are integration and regulation, particularly security, data management, and adapting AI to fit within existing systems, all under shifting regulatory concerns. The second one, the evolution of AI in businesses. So generative AI has sparked a lot of buzz, but the main question remains, what is the return on investment? How will AI fulfill its promised benefits? Third one, boosting efficiency, but for what purpose? So AI's long-term impact remains uncertain still. While some hope that this will shift and will foster creativity and innovation, organizations are still figuring out how to best utilize the time saved. The fourth one, in pursuit of trust, collaborating on AI. AI is an emerging and evolving technology, as we know, and organizations are looking for trustworthy partners, realists who are ready to learn and grow together. And the last one, AI with integrity. So companies share common concerns about AI safety, ethics, and regulatory concerns around responsible AI. So let's dig deeper. So as we enter the post-hype area of AI, Nordic businesses are still navigating vastly different points of the adoption of AI curve. So although many organizations have worked with AI for years, it is only now taking shape within their operations, partly driven by the rise of generative AI, which has pushed more organizations to explore ways of integrating it into their businesses. And according to the survey, few organizations have implemented large-scale AI solutions. The main barriers are integration and regulation, as mentioned, particularly secure data management and adapting AI to fit within existing systems, all under shifting regulatory concerns. And also with the introduction of EU AI Act and similar initiatives shaping future compliance, organizations must pursue resilient long-term solutions that extend beyond short-term solutions. So if we dig deeper into the survey results, so the one question is what is your organization's current state of AI adoption? And we see that in most organizations, AI is already used operatively in some operation areas, but only few are scaling AI across the organization. So the division between organizations in terms of state of AI adoption is close to 50-50. 52% of organizations are in their early stage of AI adoption, where one explores possibilities and runs pilots. Then around 40% of organizations are already operationalizing AI in specific areas or scaling AI across their organization. But only 7% have fully scaled AI across all parts of their operations and within the organization. And we see that the situation is fairly similar in both Finland and Sweden. Then the next question is, how are AI-related initiatives or projects primarily managed in your organization? Most AI projects are still driven within existing structures, either through cross-department collaboration or by individual business units. I think most notably, organizations have chosen to spread the AI adoption collaboratively instead of opting to choose a fully centralized approach, even though some organizations have gone this route also. And even fewer have chosen to externalize their AI adoption altogether to external vendors or partners. Then what are the main challenges your organization faces in adopting or utilizing AI? Top challenges are in integrating AI into existing systems, finding the right expertise, identifying suitable AI use cases, challenges related to regulatory and data privacy, as well as access to high-quality data. So many of these we see later that are also propagating into the support and skills organizations are looking for in partners. Interestingly, Swedish organizations perceive ethical concerns and the responsible use of AI as clearly a greater challenge and important topic to the adoption of AI than organizations in Finland. And then we have a quote from Jukka here, who is also joining us here today, is elaborating on that although OP has been on the AI journey for a long time, the new way of AI is new to them as well, especially with utilizing its own processes and data. And I think that we see across the surveys more broadly.
So, Thomas, with this said, how do you see the AI adoption landscape? Do these findings resonate with you when you have your discussions with companies?
Yes, so usually in organizations during these type of big disruptions, you see the early adopters in organizations. So people are taking AI tools into personal use, figuring out how they can effectivize their daily work in the organization. But then you sort of, when you go further through this adoption of AI, you start to see challenges around, for example, how do you integrate AI into your existing systems? You start seeing challenges with everything related to security and regulatory concerns, and also finding the right skill sets within your organization and your partners. You also realize that in order to find these really impactful use cases and tackle these factors that we mentioned earlier, you really need to find or take a more cross-functional perspective in the organization. So involve people with different disciplines, different knowledge bases, different backgrounds as part of this AI journey. And then you start really realizing that then it becomes actually a people and a culture type of a thing. And when it becomes a people and culture type of a thing, it very quickly becomes a top management thing also within the organization. So you really need to take a hard look on your organization's operations and what is the culture in the organization that enables full AI adoption within the organization. So I think the top management part will be very important in this journey to allocate resources and funding and so on. And it really becomes a strategic asset within the organization.
Yeah, and I guess policies will be more important than ever.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. So what's next?
So moving forward to the second part, so the evolution of AI in businesses. So currently AI is not deeply embedded at the strategic level within organizations, but rather used in specific areas and by maybe select employees. So its adoption often depends on individual users rather than structured strategies at the moment. And according to the survey, organizations typically rate AI's impact as moderate despite its potential. AI is still searching for its place clearly in organizations. So if we dig into the survey again, so how would you rate the overall business impact of AI in your organization? Currently, we see that approximately half of the organizations rate the overall business impact of AI as moderate, whereas 27% see AI's business impact being minimal or non-existent. And around 17% of organizations regard AI's impact on their businesses to be already at a significant level. However, as AI solutions scale through the development work and being able to demonstrate clear business value, one could expect the business impact also to increase. So we are still clearly in the early days of AI, as AI has not propagated across the organization yet. Again, we see the results are fairly similar in both Finland and in Sweden. The next research survey question, so in which areas has your organization implemented AI? According to the survey, AI has been most widely implemented in customer service with 42% and IT operations with 41%. This suggests that organizations have found clear practical use cases such as chatbots, virtual assistants, and automated monitoring, where AI can deliver immediate value. These areas appear to represent the most mature phase of adoption so far. And also research and development follows closely with a 36% implementation rate within organizations with applications in data analysis and simulation, and indicating a growing interest in using AI to support innovation as well And also we see that as part of software development. And here we see Jukka states that AI is expected to move from more being assistants to more autonomous agents in organizations. Although we clearly see that scaling will still take some time.
So the survey seems to indicate that we're still in the early days of AI adoption and organizations see the moderate impact. How do you see things evolve from here, Thomas?
Yes, so I think the moderate impact of AI in being around half in the survey results indicate that we are still in early days. So we, as mentioned earlier, we do see individuals and like smaller parts of the organization taking AI into use exactly with personal assistants and customer chatbots, and we see it in IT operations and so on. But I also believe in the same way as Jukka is stating here that we are clearly moving away, especially this year, from just personal virtual assistants into more agentic implementations of AI. So more, I see that AI naturally evolves into more of being declarative. And by that I mean that agents and AI systems are more allowed to and will do more decision making. So instead of querying for results, we use people using assistants to define goals. And that's what I mean by declarative. And when we define goals, then the underlying systems basically take care of the tasks with these, multi-step agents and so on. But I really see when we move into that AI systems are more decision makers, even with humans in the loop. All of these things that we have been talking about, regulatory concerns, having the guardrails in place, having security considerations taken into consideration, and so on, they absolutely must be in place for that to be possible.
And when AI is making decisions, let's train the models.
Yes.
So we get good decisions. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Then moving to the third theme, so boosting efficiency, but for what purpose? So currently the primary driver behind AI adoption is in efficiency that we see from results. So freeing up time by automating monotonous tasks, and according to the survey, most respondents named efficiency as the most important business driver for AI and its use in organizations. However, the benefits generated by AI are still largely speculative in the long term. We simply just don't know. So while some hope this shift will foster creativity and innovation, organizations are still figuring out how to best utilize the time saved. So if we jump into the survey results again, so what are the primary business drivers for adopting AI in your organization? And as stated earlier, so according to the survey, around 60% of respondents named efficiency as the most important business driver for AI use in their organizations, at least today. Also, modernizing operations, reducing cost, and improving customer experience were mentioned by more than 1/3 of the organizations as drivers for adopting AI. And we really see that as part of some of the earlier survey questions and results that, for example, customer service is clearly one big area that is also evident here. Quite interestingly, however, attracting talent is mentioned as a driver or a big driver by Swedish organizations, more so than by Finnish organizations. We can also see that gaining a competitive advantage with AI is not yet really the primary driver for adopting AI in organizations, and we could elaborate that organizations probably are also struggling in sort of seeing exactly how do we gain competitive advantage with AI. And what Linda here is elaborating here, Linda is also joining us here today. She's elaborating here that the ROI, so the return on investment for AI use cases, can be challenging, which is obviously a key motivator for implementation and maybe also a reason to why a project is not widely adopted in organizations.
Okay, so it's obvious that we're looking at AI mostly from an efficiency and cost reduction point of view, and it's a moderate view overall on AI adoption. What is your view on this?
So again, if we think that AI is again, it's been taking in small steps within organizations. So you have the early adopters, or as people, or early adopters as organizations, or early adopters as business units. Taking AI into use, it's in the beginning phases, it's mostly about for individuals to effectivize my own work. And we see that obviously a lot in organizations. That's what most organizations are doing. When you then move upwards in maturity scale, you start to seeing, okay, this is how AI helps me in my personal work. How do we then look at our business processes and pinpoint where AI can help as part of these processes? And that's the second maturity level. And then you take the third maturity level. So, okay, we have effectivized our business processes with AI. How will it actually change our even business models in organizations? And I think in order to sort of get into that level, the stages 2 and 3, you really start to need to look at AI across the organizations, as we have discussed earlier also. So it really needs to become a strategic asset as part of the organization. And to achieve those levels of maturity of AI in organizations, you really need that whole organization-wide perspective and take AI as part of your strategy and strategic decision making. And that really requires organizations to really being able to pinpoint what are our value chains in the organizations, what is important to us, what data do we have, what processes and what is unique for our organization. And when organizations are able to pinpoint that and take AI on to the strategic level, that's really when we start seeing in organizations this competitive advantage being utilized, or at least a possibility to utilize competitive advantage in organizations.
Yeah, and I really like the part also when the respondents say that it's a competition advantage finding the right talent.
Yes.
If you are a forerunner in using these tools.
Yes.
That's good. That we like.
Yes. Okay, moving forward. So collaborating on AI, the fourth one. So organizations are increasingly looking for AI realists. This we see as part of our qualitative surveys with our customers. So experts who offer practical, realistic, and actionable insights into AI implementation. Since AI is an emerging technology with new services and updates launched almost daily, the value of trust is emphasized. So trust is one thing in both the services themselves as well as partners offering them. As a result, more companies are seeking technology agnostic partners and strategies, ones that prioritize data ownership and methodological understanding, and are willing to act as trusted long-term partners. So in the survey, in which areas does your organization rely on external expertise or partners for AI-related initiatives? Here we can see quite a wide spectrum of expertise that organizations are relying on for their partners for. So organizations rely on partners for technical support and system maintenance, deployment and integration of AI solutions to existing systems, AI model development, custom tools and platforms, employee training, use case identification, R&D, and so on. So according to this survey, we can say that there's really a need of really broad perspective from an outside expertise perspective. And then what qualities do organizations look for in external partners? Again, the criteria for partners are quite wide. So in general, external partnerships are mainly expected to drive cost effectiveness. A strong emphasis is placed on technical expertise in AI and its related technologies, and again, integrating AI into existing systems. Also, adaptability to organizations' needs, so a strong understanding of compliance and regulatory requirements, as well as strong understanding of industry and business operations are considered very important. From respondents, we also get that organizations hope to work with partners who are willing to work together in the long run as trusted partners. What Linda is stating here is something that we see often. So, has the vendor or partner done something similar like this before? So, can it be adapted to our own context?
So the organizations seem to be on a lookout for very broad competence from their partners, and trust is also very, very crucial and important. What do you make out of this?
Yes, it clearly, as AI is a new and evolving thing, so clearly organizations have needs for a very broad spectrum of competencies, whether that's deploying AI models, as you mentioned, or integrating AI into their existing systems, or support with software development. Those are clearly very sought after capabilities. We also see that customers and organizations in general really ask their vendors and partners to understand the sort of business domain of their organization. What are the problems that our customers are really struggling with and they need support with? And also, what do partners understand the regulatory compliance and the security context of the organizations? That's something we definitely need. And also, as Linda is mentioning here, partners need to be able to demonstrate in many ways that they are capable of delivering this.
So industry competence is a key word. Yeah.
And then moving to the final theme, so AI with integrity. So concerns about regulation and the potential for data breaches and other security matters are clearly viewed as big risk in implementation of AI. So this reflects the nature of AI as a rapidly evolving technology and the broader contemplation on how to safely apply it to existing systems. So in a survey, how concerned are you about the following possible risks of AI? Clearly, both in Finland and Sweden, nearly 2/3 of organizations are fairly or very concerned about the security threats that using AI entails. And over 90% are at least slightly concerned. Each company must also consider their respective industries. So the regulatory context, the shareholder relationships even matter, which creates an additional need for care. And in the survey, environmental impact was maybe seen as the least of the worries at the moment. While we know that large language models and AI require a significant amount of electricity, their overall impact might be difficult to pinpoint or comprehend, which may explain the results. And then, how important is responsible AI to your organization and strategy? 71% of all organizations consider responsible AI to be at least fairly important to their company strategy. In Sweden, clearly more so. And then, does your organization have policies or guidelines for responsible AI? We see that 35% of organizations already have a policy for responsible AI. 40% of organizations are in the process of developing one, a total of 75%. And here we again see that in Sweden, we are a little bit ahead of the curve here. In general, most respondents are at least in the process of developing guidelines. And here we see a quote from Jon Gustafsson, so stating that it's precisely the ethical and the legal aspects that will be the toughest challenges that they will face, not necessarily the actual technical implementation.
So with ethical and regulatory concerns being in top of mind of the organizations, how big impact does this really have on the AI adoption, do you think?
I see it really has a big impact. So we see a lot of organizations trialing with AI systems, proof of concepts and so on. But may then struggle with the actual security and especially the regulatory compliance part of things. It is about how do we ensure that when we develop our AI systems that they are secure, they are according to regulatory compliance, they take ethics into concerns. So it becomes a question of, do we have the necessary guardrails implemented as part of the organization? And this is definitely a recurring discussion topic with our customers on a day-to-day activity, and we see that this is really on top of our customers' mind. But we also see from the survey results that most organizations, if not all, almost all, see it in the same way and are implementing these policies and guardrails in their organizations.
So, from hype to realism, this we will talk more about in just a short while. See you after the break. Finally, and hello also to you, Niklas, Jukka, and Linda, who is joining us digitally today from Sweden. How are you?
Great, thank you.
Lovely. Great to hear. Niklas, could you start a little bit with giving us your thoughts and insights around the survey and the results?
Yeah, for sure. Not too surprising. We recognize most of this when we talk to our customers and potential customers as well. But very interesting, of course, and a lot to discuss. And I made some notes as well, as we have defined findings, AI in use, but not yet in scale. There was a figure down to 7% use in the enterprise, which I think is too low. We need to take back the initiative and not lose some speed, so we can be the leader again in the competitive world. But I would say also that AI success requires C-level ownership as well, and the central teams to set the direction and governance, while empowering local teams or the business side to drive the innovation where it matters the most. Otherwise, it would be like mounting a rocket engine on a scooter. And the second finding, the evolution of AI in business, discussed that we're going from assistant agents to autonomous agents, and this means that we need a structure. How to manage and foster data properly, secure, and correct. AI will never give you a better answer than the data and the correctness of data you provide.
True.
And you also need to foster culture of the people where you learn, explore, and improve. Culture is strategy for breakfast unless the strategy involves or includes the culture, I would say. The third finding when it comes to boosting efficiency, and I'm happy about the result as well, that AI complements rather than replaces human work. Roles evolves into more specialized positions, and this gives us the opportunity to be more innovative, problem solving, and finding new business opportunities. The greatest value of AI is not to replace people, but to enhance their abilities. The fourth one, when it comes to trust, the development of AI is not just about smarter machines. It's about rethinking how we build, decide, and collaborate as humans. Companies that succeed with AI don't focus on the technology, but on the business value it can unlock. So AI consultancy is more about clarifying ambitions prioritizing actions, and building trust. And for the last one, when it comes to the integrity with AI, organizations tend to be overly cautious rather than bold in their approaches right now, which is also understandable. But the first step is to reduce the gap between the technology and operations by building cross-functional teams where IT and business collaborate from the start. And there is, of course, a lot of uncertainty in organization today, not only on the technical side, but also among managers and decision makers. And therefore, I would say that training efforts are needed on several levels. Both the basic understanding of AI, the possibilities and limitations, the training of use of generative AI, for example, but also exercise in ethics and data protection. But also, of course, for ideas to turn into real change, structure is needed. Organizations should implement clear methods for collecting, evaluating, and prioritizing AI use cases. And finally, I would say it's important to choose an external AI partner. As we are in a growing market, you need someone you can rely on, who has done this before, and where you have possibility of having your own questions and not go into the same pitfalls as you might otherwise.
True. Sounds like we need to, in some ways, get back to the ground base and set the foundation and have the vision and North Star to work for, but still have a good foundation in policies and regulations. Linda, welcome to the discussion.
Thank you.
Could you share your thoughts around what the first stepping stones should be to get things started?
What I've seen when we've had true success, it's when you have a very targeted team that comes in and focus on a problem statement. And if you manage to group that targeted expert team also with domain experts that actually have time to dig into the matter and work together cross-functionally, this is where I've seen the largest benefit, just to get started. Then when you want to scale things and you want to replicate, that's when I see your center of excellence or these more central functions coming in and support on the scalability. But the first mover, it's really having a use case that people truly care about, solve a true problem, and have dedicated focus, because you will need to evolve. First, you think it's all happy days and you get some primary results. But then when you start to dig at that and you want that extra % increase in your accuracy or whatever, that's hard work. Then you need to iterate over and over. So you need a little bit of stamina and then continuous funding as well. So you need to make sure that the use case is true and something we really want to solve, so that you keep your experts close, the domain experts close, and you're also getting funding to stay at the problem a little bit longer than you initially thought.
And finding the ambassadors all around the organization. How about you, Jukka? Do you share her thoughts?
Yes, I think Linda brought up some good points here. One thing I would like to, however, emphasize is that it is important to avoid the problem of analysis paralysis. So getting started means getting started. So you need to, of course, have a good business case there, have a technically feasible case you can do, but still getting started from a simple scope that you know you can deliver, getting those experiences there. Failing fast is important because then you gain more insights into how you can utilize AI in your organization, in your processes to help your people and your customers. So definitely my hint to getting started is to get started.
Yeah, and I bring that with me, fail fast. That's good. Niklas, how about your view?
Yeah, so I think it's a good start, which we can see from survey, lots of pilots and proof of concepts, of course. That's a good start, and to have a clear goal on that. Of course, we need to scale that up later as well, as I mentioned before. But to succeed with data as well, first step is to really understand your own data and carefully discovering the data as well to spot patterns and the insights that you can turn those raw numbers into valuable opportunities. Turn the data into gold. And also, as I mentioned, finding relevant use cases. There are lots of ideas what AI can do, but fewer structured methods for prioritizing and translating these ideas into concrete initiatives that actually generate benefits. So I would say this is a key point to become successful.
And Thomas?
I think some very important parts were covered. So Linda was talking about the cross-functional aspect, and I think that's really key. I mean that is true for most technology innovations in organizations in general, but I think AI is so broad. The AI affects basically all parts of everything that we do and all parts of the organizations. And you really need very different type of competencies. So really to have these cross-functional teams is very important. And then what Jukka was mentioning about this analysis paralysis, sometimes we sort of hope that there is this magical technology that will solve something. But we clearly don't see that, at least not yet. There is not this golden use case, and there's not this golden tool. So what we really need is a culture that emphasizes collaboration and experimentation, failing fast, and this is done in a cross-functional way.
So Jukka, what have you done so far within AI, and what's next on your agenda?
Yeah, we've been utilizing AI for years now. Of course, AI has evolved as a term over the years. So we started from things like utilizing machine learning for housing value assessment, for instance, or advanced analytics. But now, if we're talking about the current wave of generative AI, we have started from things like personal productivity, the things that we all do in our knowledge work, sending emails and such, creating presentations, things like that. That's of course a simple use case for all of the different organizations. But now, of course, we're moving on to more, let's say, organization-specific use cases, putting AI assistants into business processes to help our customer service personnel, for instance, finding information from our internal documentations. As a large and like an organization with a long history, we have a lot of documentation and guidelines there that we need to facilitate the information retrieval from. So AI is definitely a big boon there. And in the future, we're currently looking at developing AI agents that would then help us perform tasks as well. So putting agents into business processes, but also, of course, in the future, we see a lot of potential in customer-facing solutions, and not just chatbots and things that react to customer queries. There is a lot of potential in the proactive use in AI to deliver customer value where you might not even expect it as a customer. So that is definitely something that we also look forward to in the future.
That's true A/B testing. Mm-hmm. And Linda, how about SKF?
Yeah, I would very much second what Jukka says. Even though we are in different industries, we see a lot of similar pattern. We've also been at the AI journey for quite some time, started in the predictive maintenance area, and also now, of course, then evolving into the more generative AI support and so on. So I think we have very much similarities, and I think we've just started to scratch the surface when it comes to the efficiency boost into the organizations. And we're working right now with our customer-facing part, just as Jukka was mentioning here. So how to answer simple technical questions, for example. And there you have the aspect that it needs to be correct in the answer that you have, which is then, of course, you can't just go a vanilla approach. You need to tailor it towards your specific information, which I find very interesting and where we are digging deep right now.
Yeah, and the aftermarket is so important for you also in your industry. So now I'm curious, what will the future workplace look like if you have a look in the crystal ball? Niklas?
Yeah, that would be very interesting, but I think what we see where we can help the most with AI is to, less frustration. The repetitive, boring tasks will be put away, where you try to find your data or to support your customer, whatever you need to do. Taking lots of time today. So hopefully we will have agents doing that for us so we can do the innovative and more creative parts.
True. Thomas?
Yes, a very interesting and difficult question, of course. I mean, I think these sort of hygiene factors will evolve very, very fast. So how do we, like exactly what Niklas was mentioning, how do you take care of the repetitive tasks, the things that we do on a daily basis, so to speak, and we get these virtual assistants and we get agents and so on. I think maybe as a broader perspective, if we come back into the competitive advantage thing, which is, you know, it expands a little bit wider than the workplace only type of a question, but I think we really see organizations sort of able to pinpoint that what is the value chain in the organization, where does the organization build value on the end-to-end scale, and then really focusing their efforts above the hygiene factors into making themselves competitive in those important points of the value chain that they are in the business that they are in.
Jukka.
Of course, technology is evolving so fast that it's a super difficult question to answer, as was mentioned before. So, you know, what's possible from year on, who knows? But I think that definitely we will see the proliferation of AI assistants in different, like I said, organization-specific processes using our data to facilitate efficiency in different business processes in all areas. That's definitely something that will shift the kind of focus from specific areas of work, less time spent on information retrieval and more time spent on delivering value. So more interaction with customers, more interaction with you know, among other employees as well, you know, having those valuable interactions in knowledge work, definitely saving time for that. This is something that we expect to see in the future. And AI assistants, AI agents performing tasks for you, saving time from work, that's definitely something that will be, I'm not sure if proliferation is the correct term for that in a year or so, but looking a few years from now, I think that we will be spending a lot less time on this sort of menial routine tasks and much more time on actual valuable interaction among each other.
Mm. And Linda?
No, I can just second what's been said. I think removing this search for information, how many has not been searching through all the files and SharePoints and emails and whatever you have to find that particular one that you were looking for. So these types of activities, absolutely. What I see as the next thing is, of course, when we can start to cross-fertilize the information that we currently have. And I think going back also to what we said before with organizations at times being maybe too secure in their approach. Of course, all companies have that golden information that you don't want to risk leaking outside. And I think when we get above that and we can really start to cross-fertilize between the different data silos that we have, I think we can see the next level of efficiencies coming as well. The thing that we can't really predict today.
True. It's really fast moving. So I'm staying with you, Linda. What role do you think that us IT vendors should have? Looking at the early days we're still in, what do you think?
I think the response that came from the surveys was really good. We are looking for partners that can do this together with us and that can inspire us. And even though we have, of course, our community inside the company, it's really good when our vendors support also to do the communities across companies. And this, I think, is important because we need to get that inspiration. And like I stated also in the quote there, has it been done before? Because, of course, when we go up and ask for grants internally to spend money on something, it's very good to have maybe not the exact same use case, but similar use cases to say, you know, this is the upside that we are looking for, especially if you want to go beyond the scaling. And then I think there is also a large portion in educating the different levels in the organization. Sometimes you go in very, very deep into solving a problem statement and you solve it maybe from that person who brought you into the company, but just also taking the role to expand a little bit. Can you continue to drive this within your own company once the supplier might leave? This I also think is very important. So the digital maturity overall on all levels in all the organizations is an important part to get from the IT vendor.
What do you think, Jukka?
Definitely agree what Linda said. I think that I sort of consider vendors as a multiplier for us. So technical expertise and quality of service, partnership, definitely super important. But in addition, what you can deliver us is value from the outside experience. So we tend to look inside for knowledge, and we have a wealth of knowledge on how to develop things and how to utilize technology and how our business processes work. But we don't necessarily know a lot from other organizations, and that insight is something that we can definitely get from vendors. So looks into other companies in the same industry, but also other use cases from other industries as well. That's definitely something that we want to hear more from and understand better, where we can then leverage those same capabilities, similar approaches into our context.
Did you hear them now, Thomas and Niklas? Good.
Yeah, sure.
So my final question, so we have some time for the Q&A also. Might be a tricky one, but do you see any areas where AI will not be relevant? I know, Jukka, for example, you're in the finance business, you have lots of regulations, and tell us, what do you see as no-go zones?
My short answer would be that there is no area that we cannot use AI in. There are, of course, restrictions on what we can do with AI, and regulation in the financial industry provides as a ever-changing world of regulation that we need to comply with, and that is definitely important as well for us. But we also see value in AI in conforming to that regulation. So better serving our customers in a way that we are regulatory compliant is one area that we definitely want to use AI as well. So as I said, the technology evolves at the speed that it would be foolish of me to say that something is out of reach in that sense. We still have things that we cannot completely, for instance, automate, and that is definitely a limitation on how we utilize AI, but it's not necessarily a full restriction on an area of business, for instance, or a specific task or process where we can use AI.
And what do you say, Linda?
I definitely agree. I think we've just started to scratch the surface in many companies. So I think areas that we think are no-go zones today will start to open up, and especially once the security part evolves and also the internal understanding of what security really means, because there can be no-go zones today when it comes to IP information and so on. But I think as soon as you sort of educate also on, okay, but if we put these guardrails in place, if we approach in this way, then that opens up. So I would definitely agree. I don't see any really red zones.
Yeah. Really interesting discussion, and it gives you lots to think about. And if I give you the chance to give our audience one last good advice, what would that be? Starting with you, Thomas.
One good advice. Maybe my advice would be tailored towards organizations in general. So I think in order to successfully adopt and be successful with AI, you need a combination of a bottom-up approach and a top-down approach. So most of the approaches we see today are bottom-up. So we have people being curious in the organization, trying out things, trying things out, building systems, building things, and so on. But in order to really, for the organization to be in the long term successful, also from a competitive advantage point of view, you need to take the top-down approach. So that's AI is on the agenda of top management and steers the change management and the vision of AI, because that allows the organization to focus their resources in correct places and also help the people in the organization to propagate the learnings of AI across the organization. So foster a culture of curiosity and experimentation from bottom up, and then also establish your AI strategy and vision to steer the direction of AI in the organization from top down.
Niklas.
Yeah, very thoughtful said. I can complement with understand your data, master your future.
Short and crispy.
Yeah.
Jukka.
I think one thing that is not necessarily discussed enough is the role of processes here. So AI is an enabler, and it enables us to perform processes to deliver customer value and deliver employee value more efficiently, or other benefits of AI that apply as well here. But I think it's still, you shouldn't forget that processes are the key to success. You need to understand how your organization delivers value, and AI might change how those processes are performed. And don't get me wrong, there's a ton of potential there, but still the processes are the focus. So develop your processes in a way that you can utilize AI to its fullest extent. But AI is still an enabler. It's not the end goal.
And Linda, last but not least.
I can just second Jukka. I think sometimes we go into this hype bubble because we really want to talk about AI as AI. And it's something you want to bring up in all different discussions. But I think, just like Jukka said, look at the problem that you're trying to solve. And you have many techniques available. The AI approach is just one of them. There's a big portion to be gained just by traditional digitization or automation. So don't look blindly into the AI team to solve everything. Make sure that you work cross-functional and take a very honest approach to what can really solve your problem.
Really good advice. Thank you so much. And now I have brought my phone, and I will ask you to do the same very soon, because you will get a QR code just in a couple of minutes. So you can actually scan the QR code and get the report, because I know you're very curious to dig even deeper into this. But let's see if we have any questions. Whoa, there's a few ones. So let's pick something. I'm not going to be able to read them all because we have 4 minutes to go. This is for Linda and Jukka. How have you trained your own personnel to use AI in your organizations? Jukka, can you start?
We have dedicated training available to our personnel, and it is actually a requirement before you can get full access to our AI assistants, that you need to have the training in place so that you know your responsibilities and know what is available to you and how you can use it. But I think that is like a moving target for us as well. It's difficult, again, with the pace of the evolution of technology. It's difficult for us to stay up to speed on what is currently possible. So we need to, I think, put more focus on having training available to personnel and having it available as part of their routine competence development activities, AI-specific training and exercises, and having practical experiences on how to utilize AI. So having those tools available for you is important in developing that competence as well.
I like that, with the training being like the key to lock up the tools. Linda?
Yeah, and we have similar. We have both a collaboration network where you inspire each other and get to know how to utilize the tool. And we also have our ambassadors that sits out in the organization that can support management teams, so on educating them around what's possible. And if you want to have AI tools, we've actually made it a little bit difficult because we see the cost is increasing dramatically because there are so many different solutions out there. So you need, as an organization, to really consider what will we use this for, because sometimes people just want it for the fun of it, and we need to make sure, going back to Jukka's processes, that it fits into the workflow so that you can actually get the payback for the additional cost that you are putting on the organization.
Thank you. I'm turning my head to you now, Niklas, and I think this will be the last question, actually, with 50 seconds to go. What does a realistic, scalable AI roadmap look like for a mid-sized organization?
I would say first a partner, someone who has done this before, that you can listen to. Can be a consult company or advisor, or even someone you know from another company, of course. And also to try and test technology. What can you do with AI? Understand that.
Good advice. So, thank you all for joining us in the panel today, and thank you, Thomas, for your insights in the beginning of the report. And thank you for joining us in this interesting talk today. And soon, or perhaps already, you see a QR code on the screen, and this gives you access to the report, the full report. So, we wish you a very good day. Bye!